Welcome to Modern Anarchy, the podcast featuring real conversations with conscious objectors to the status quo. I'm your host, Nicole.
I tried to keep her quiet, but she's screaming inside of me. I tried to keep her hiding, oh, shut up. I tried to keep her quiet, but she's a wild, wild woman.
Hello. On today's episode, we have R&B singer and songwriter Jordanna join us for a conversation about the fluidity of our identity. Together, we talk about analysis paralysis, shifting our negative internal dialogue, and how the internet has shaped our desires for romantic relationships. Oh, it was such a treat to get to talk to Jordanna. I connected with her on so many different levels of so deeply wanting the answers to all these questions and dreaming of complete freedom in our life and trying to figure out what the heck does that even mean and how do we go about it, and just the amount of questions that she has is very similar to the amount floating around in my own brain. So it was such a fun time to just bounce ideas off of one another. And y'all, I think you're all going to really enjoy the different caverns of our mind that we explore in today's episode. So tune in. Dude, it's so fucking cold outside. What the hell? Have you gone outside yet?
No, I've been awake for about 30 minutes.
That's super fair. Same. Like, cheers to morning coffee.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
I was like, I know. I woke up at 9:30. I was like, I gotta get myself out of bed for this conversation.
Yeah, same. Oh, I just did like I can't even think of the word because I need to drink my coffee, but
Take
a
another sip.
compact morning, I like scarfed down a yogurt, put on mascara, and was like, all right, I got this.
I got this. I'm adulting. This is fine.
Totally
Well,
fine.
it's hard. I feel like after the holidays, like, I don't know what you're doing, but for me, like, I get out of my whole routine. I'm like, going to bed at 2 a.m., waking up at 10:30. Like, I don't have an adult life to stick to.
Yeah, but you're in school, right?
Yeah. We get a little break. So, like, I've been off for 2.5, 3 weeks now, and then I start again next Monday. Oh my God. I honestly have been relating it to birth more so, where I'm just like, I'm about to go through labor of 15 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's gonna hurt, and I'm gonna push it out, and we're just gonna keep going.
Yeah, how many classes are you taking?
Oh, it's full time, so it's 5 classes. So, like, apart from this podcast that I run, I've been working a job full time. Yeah, I know. Which has been crazy. So, but that ends at the end of this month. So I'll actually probably for the first time feel like I can breathe a little bit, which is going to be really good.
Yeah, my sister is in grad school, and she was doing the same thing, like full-time school, full-time job, and she just dropped down to part-time both, and like her whole life is so much better. Like,
yes, yeah.
Props to you for doing full-time both, though.
Thank you. I mean, yeah. I had one of those moments more recently, just like reflecting on the new year, where I was like, shit, I need to play more. Like, I am just working, and I need to just stop doing things for productivity and just play a little bit.
Yes, yeah, I know. That is like my whole MO for 2022 is just playtime. Yeah.
I want to hear about it.
Great. I mean, I have no money, and that is becoming a concern, but I am a lot happier already. But anyway, I don't know where we should start or what you want to start on.
Okay, do you see this? This happens every recording. My cat is possessive. There was no nail in that tap, but the fact that I'm diverting my energy to you and not to her right now, she's like, hey!
Oh my gosh.
I understand. I see you. I think it's because I wasn't here last night, so I just got home to do this, and so she's like, yo, you have been gone. Yeah. We're gonna just, sneak along. Okay, bye, child. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yes, and oh my gosh, actually, I'm gonna tell you a weird dream, a recurring dream I have that you just reminded me of that maybe you can dissect because you're in school for
I'm taking notes, let's go.
Okay, I think it's probably a bad sign. I have a recurring dream that that I forget I have a pet and that I haven't walked or I haven't fed the pet in like years. And the dream is that I'm like out and about living my life, and I remember that I have like a dog, and that the dog has been home for like weeks and I haven't been there.
Wow.
Isn't that really bad? And what does that mean?
Okay, well, one, I don't necessarily believe in dream analysis, just like full presence here. At least currently. Maybe I'll change my mind the more I go into it, but like, how often are you having this dream? Like, is this every night?
No, but I would say like at least once a month.
Damn, interesting. Has this happened in your past that you forgot to take care of a pet and like...
No.
What do you think it's related to?
I think it's got to be related. Well, now I'm very self-conscious that you don't believe in dream analysis.
No. I'm with you. I am not going to dissect you and be like, because you have this means that this is what's wrong. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay, well, I feel like it must be about some part of me, right, that I'm ignoring.
Okay, tell me more. What do you think? I'm here for it. It's therapy hour. Let's go.
This is great. Yeah, I was just going to say, I've been out of therapy for like 2 years. So this is just, I'm just falling into rhythm with you.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know. I've been doing a lot of inner child work in the last year. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's been about that. But I've had this dream for literal years. It keeps coming back. I don't know. I think I'm probably just ignoring something that's like asking for my attention, and I'm ignoring it. So I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, it's 10:37 in the morning. This is where my head's at.
And I'm with you. What makes you think that? Is this something that you typically do where like you kind of like easily forget aspects of yourself that need nurturing?
Wow, this is really yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Oh god. I feel very
I know, it's very exposed, right? I'm totally with you. This happens to me all the time where it's like, you're always like checking in with yourself. Like, did I forget to do this aspect of self-care and like to process here? And there's always so many pieces where you're like, am I taking care of myself? And just like constant dialogue, which I feel like a lot of artistic, creative people kind of exist in this space. We're constantly digesting and reflecting, and part of that is the creative energy. And so like, I'm with you.
Yeah, well, I think actually when you start to say pieces of self-care, taking care of yourself, I'm not even sure that it's that so much as it is, I feel like I have a lot of different roles that I play throughout my life. Okay. As, well, just like identity roles.
Yes.
And sometimes I'll just like pick one and that's who I am for a while.
Yes.
And then I feel like, oh, but what about all these other parts of me? So it's not so, well, maybe that is self-care, but it's not so much like, oh, maybe it is self-care. Maybe it is self-care. But for me, I'm thinking it's more about like these identities and roles I play, which has been like a huge topic for me in the last year of my life. Yeah.
I am so ready for this conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. I am totally with you. All these different identity pieces and trying to kind of like fit them into our holistic understanding of self and understanding that we play different roles with different costumes, different dialects, different expectations of how you show up in a space. I especially feel that in jobs, you know what I mean? Like, showing up here is different than how I show up, you know, maybe with my family or in a workspace, and all these different things that you kind of have to keep up in your head of, like, how do I show up here versus here, and which one of these is really me?
Yes. So this is, like, a huge issue throughout my life because I'm not a good employee. Like, hands down, I am a bad employee, and it's, like, it's totally hilarious to me. Okay, it's not funny to every employer I've ever had. Sure. And frankly, one of my goals for this new year is I want to get some grants. Like, I think that I am destined to, like, require funding to be who I am. Like, I don't think I fit in an employer-employee position. Like, I don't. I know I don't. I'm not a good employee. I will just not go to work when I don't want to go. Like, I will show up to work not in the right attire. I will just be a bad employee. And like, this has been a pattern throughout my whole life. I have friends who I've met through work and they're all like, you're a terrible employee. like it's just the truth, because I have a hard time filling a role that is so inauthentic to me. You know? I don't want to do it.
No, I know.
I don't want to do it.
I know. I agree. So question then is like, why do we have to blunt who we are to show up in these spaces? Like, why are we even making that step? I mean, I get like the logistics of like showing up on time, right? And these sort of things that you have to comply with. But like the other aspects of being our authentic self in these spaces, why can't we do that?
I think lots of people can. I think as an artist, though, there's not a job that you have to go to that where you're not in charge that is going to be authentic to you. At least for me. I don't know if I'm wording that in a way that's...
No, I'm with you. Like, you need that direction to be the director kind of energy?
Yeah, I don't want to be like a cog in the machine.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like, yes.
Even when I see where I currently work, dear God, my boss won't find this, but
no.
Where I currently work is an event space, and it's the job I've had for the longest because technically I'm a freelancer. Like I can say no to an event if I don't want to work it. I'm a manager there, and I'm basically, I manage the space and I help people find what they need. And it's actually a great job, and I should probably not lose this job. But it gives me some freedom there. Mm-hmm. However, it's still like I'm a cog in the machine. Like it just feels so fake. It just feels fake a lot of the time. And
yeah. I really want to hear more about this.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'm on my own journey of life that I'm connecting with you. So I've been watching the Grateful Dead documentary on I think it's Long Strange Road, something. Do you know?
Okay.
Have you like looked into the culture of the Grateful Dead?
No.
Yeah, so I didn't know much about this era either, but I've been, one of my partners is really into it, and so I've been like learning through it with them. And my God, you should watch this documentary. As I'm like watching it, they were just like, yeah, we didn't want to do anything other than play music, and so we did acid all day and then just rode around the country and basically we're kind of poor, but built this little family and just traveled around and never had to work a day in our lives. Like, your energy is just, like, reminding me of this, where it's just like, we don't want to do it. We don't want to be a cog in the system. We just want to play good music and live our lives.
Yeah. Okay, so I need to watch that documentary.
Yeah, you'll feel much more, like, put together than what they're doing, which was, like, every night acid on stage. I'm not even kidding. They were like, to go up on stage, you had to take a drink of the bottle that was full of acid and go up. Yeah, it is full, and, like, they did it. They live their life.
All right, I'm going to watch that. I am heavily influenced by, like, documentaries and inspiring journeys like that, so I will do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess, I don't know. So you've probably seen, like, my Instagram, right? And then Nexus J recommended me for this.
I didn't really look at your Instagram too much, but...
That's great.
Yeah.
Personally, I love that. And I'll just fill you in just briefly for the last year of my life to give some context about where I'm coming from. Okay, cool. I also love that we're both chugging coffee during this.
Trying to wake up.
And I'm the one who forced us to do it at this time because I know.
You did.
And because my thought process was, okay, first week of the new year, like, I want to get up. And so it did force me to get up.
It did force me to get up as well, so good morning.
But it's just funny, like, I started with a dream analysis, and now we're here.
No, this is the journey of this podcast. We can go wherever you want to go, baby. We are good.
All right, great. Okay, so the last year of my life, I guess the last 2 years, I'll do a brief synopsis, starting with, you know, the March 2020 lockdown. Prior to that, I was doing really well in my music career. I'm like an R&B singer-songwriter. I had just played House of Blues, Lincoln Hall, and Empty Bottle. Like, I was hitting them, and I was like, sick, this summer I'm gonna tour, like, I'm gonna make it work, I'm gonna tour. And then March came, and obviously we all went into lockdown.
Yeah.
And I was shocked because I was relieved. Like, I was really relieved when lockdown hit, and then, like, all my shows got canceled. Yeah. And all of a sudden I was just overcome with, like, a sigh of relief. And I was, like, surprised at my own reaction, and was like, okay, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, or you can keep going, just what was that feeling? Why do you think you had that?
Well, shows, this is still, like, difficult for me to think about. It's not difficult. I know why, but it's just kind of upsetting for me to think about, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, is that, like, as I've gained more quote-unquote recognition, like, I'm, you know, not a famous person, but I do well, you know, and the more stakes involved in the shows, like, oh, it's sold out, or people paid a lot of money to be here, or don't fuck this up because everyone's looking at you. Like, the more stressful it was all getting. And I think that's part of it, you know, that's part of being a musician. Like, the stakes do get higher. But I think I wasn't handling it well, and it was, like, taking a lot out of me. Every show. But I think that was something I was ignoring for sure, because I was like, yeah, but I want to be a successful musician, so I just got to keep going. But so when everything got canceled, I was really relieved, but at the same time, I've been performing original music since I was, like, 14. I used to play on I'm from Philadelphia, so I used to play, like, on the sidewalk in Philly when I was a kid with, like, a guitar case open. Then I was in a band in high school, moved to Chicago, I was in a punk band, now I make R&B. Like, I've always been performing music. Yeah. So when everything was canceled, I was truly like, oh shit, I don't think I'm a person. Like, I don't think I'm actually, like, a human who, like, does things besides perform music. I think that was a real genuine thought. Like, truly felt like, oh no, I don't have any other character traits. I don't, like, I don't have, well, the scariest feeling was, like, do I have friends that like me if I'm not a musician? You know, which I do, of course. Next is Jay being one of them. But just, like, real, like, an identity crisis, honestly. This is bringing me to a point. So I experience all these things, and I start researching. The only thing I know that I like just as much as making music is I had gone hiking in Colorado a couple times and really, like, fell in love. Like, it was the first time I saw mountains. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I started researching solo women who go hiking alone.
Fuck yeah.
And I was just looking into all of that. Long story short, I stumbled across a YouTube vlogger who did the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, yeah. My partner literally did that, so this is for 7 months.
Well, here we go. Okay, all right. So I just did it for 3 months. I just did a section.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, okay, so that's where this is going. So I find this YouTube video, and I'm like, okay, I've never even heard of the AT. Like, this is really interesting. I deep dive. Wait, I also should know did your partner just do it?
No, he did it when he was 26, so like 10 years ago.
Okay.
For 7 months, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I went out to do. But alright, so long story short, I see this video, I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I'm going to do that. I pack up my entire apartment, put it in a storage unit here in Chicago, over, you know, some time. I had never even camped before. Like, I had gone hiking.
I love this for you. Never camped, but I'm going.
Yeah, never even camped. I just started researching like crazy. I was like getting unemployment checks and spending the unemployment on backpacking gear, selling my shit, and like going out to the suburbs of Chicago and hiking alone and just getting used to it. I like drove out to Starved Rock, went camping by myself, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Put everything in storage, and then this past March, I like went down to Georgia. My friends dropped me off at the start of the Appalachian Trail. And the plan was to do the whole thing, but I did 735 miles, which is still a lot.
Yeah.
And I walked from Georgia to Virginia. just to fucking see. Literally just to fucking see how I would handle it.
Which is great.
Yeah. So that was searching for some identity. I came back here in June, and it's been fucking insane. I'm rambling a lot because a lot has happened.
No, it's good. You're rambling good. This is great.
But yeah, it's been a fucking whirlwind since I've been back, and now I'm just trying to make some decisions.
Okay, so you came back in July of this year.
Yes, yeah.
So it's only been, what, like, math, 6-7 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's huge, though, to go on a trip like that, having never camped, to go for, you said 3 months?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. It was a long time. Like, I went alone, you know?
Exactly.
And, like, was just hoping that I'd figure it out. And I did.
Yeah.
But...
So, wow. Yeah, so a couple questions.
Yeah.
Going alone, what was that like? I mean, that's a journey in and of itself, to spend so much time with your internal thoughts out in nature specifically, where there are no other distractions. I don't know if you had cell phone service during that time. You know, that all plays into, like, what that experience is like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of people attempt the AT every year, so there are a lot of people out there. Yeah, I'm sure you know through one of your partners. But so there were plenty of people wherever I camped. I'd say I camped alone like 3 to 4 times the whole trail. Otherwise, there are always people around. But while actually hiking, you're very much alone. I handled it by, honestly, I was listening to music like 24/7. Yep. I knew people out there who were not using headphones at all, so just hiking with their thoughts. And I'm like, those are crazy people. I would try to do it, and I would last like 20 minutes because the trail is hard. If it was just a walk, if you were just like walking, it would be fine, but you are like climbing mountains, like, and oftentimes rock climbing with like a backpack on, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm just strolling along. It was like I needed music to hype me up to like keep climbing the mountains.
Sure.
But yeah, the alone part was very much, I don't know, I think I'm still dissecting it in a lot of ways.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a huge change.
Yeah, literally every day. I actually just messaged one of my friends from trail last night that I feel like every day I'm still realizing ways that it's changed me.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, last night specifically, I think I just realized there's so many different ways of living now that I'm just like, okay, why are we all doing this one thing? Which brings us back to, I should watch the Grateful Dead documentary. That's what brought me here. So I'm like, damn, that seems like kind of what I was thinking. But like, I have all the equipment. Like, I could go live in the woods right now.
Yeah, you could.
And I'm paying like $900 for this studio apartment every month, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, why?
Because it's comfortable, right? So,
yeah, and I'm sure there's other reasons. I'm sure you have friends here that family, community, and those pieces.
Yeah, I mean, the big reason I came back was the community. Like, I missed my community of artists, because there's a lot of different people on the trail, but I didn't, like, quite fit in with those people.
Yeah.
I felt. So I love my community of artists. I love making music. Like, after this, I'm going to the studio. Like, what a fucking gift. Like, I can go to a studio and make music today.
Exactly.
Yeah, and, like, I screen print, and, like, I have access to a screen printing studio here. Like, there's all these perks, so I'll probably live in Chicago until I die, but I'm just like, I don't know, there's also a whole world out there, and I would see how like people in these small towns live like off the trail, and I'm like, oh, you seem happy, but maybe they're not. I don't know.
Ooh, no, I'm with you in the same thought of like, do you want to stay in Chicago for the rest of your life, knowing that there's an immense world out there of different lives, different paces, different things, and how that changes you. But it's also, so hard because you don't want to leave Chicago knowing that everything is here. And I love that freedom. Even if I don't partake in all of the different avenues of adventure here, I love knowing that if I wanted to, I could find it in the city and do it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know either. I think I'm gonna be in the same boat where I stay here till I die, sort of thing, and travel out into the world and kind of.
Yeah.
If I want to go on the Appalachian Trail, I'll fly out there and do that, and come back to my little studio here and kind of live that life. But I do feel you of this sense of restlessness, of not wanting to be a part of the machine and the cog, and wanting to live your life freely and do the things that you want to do, and like feeling that pull between the stability of here versus the freedom and the instability that kind of requires. It's a really delicate balance.
Yes, and most recently in the last month, I'm very torn. Like, I really love my little apartment here. Mm-hmm. Like, I moved in here in October. But yeah, I keep thinking about, like, the whole world out there.
Oh, yeah. And then, I mean, and then if, like, what is the world, right? So is it America for you? And then beyond that, it's like there's a whole other continents that you could spend your whole life exploring. I mean, at some point, we have to also recognize, like, what is within our life's existence. You know what I mean? Because there's so many experiences. Exactly. There's so many. We can't do it all. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. There was a time when I was an English major and I wanted to read every single book, and it's like, that is not possible. Exploring every single trail is not possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we have such a short life to live. But, like, in that short life, when it's not promised at all, like, how do we make sure that we are constantly working towards that goal that we want to be?
Yeah.
Whatever that is for you.
Well, I was just going to say, you have to pick a goal, I feel
Exactly. Yes.
And I feel like my most recent goal is that I just want to be living, like, as creatively and, like, as an artist, like, through and through as possible.
Yeah. What do you think that means?
Oh,
yeah.
I was just going to say, what does that mean? What does that mean? I think that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Sure.
Because I can stay in Chicago and, like, continue to expand my practice, which is what I've been doing since I've been back from the trail, like, really expanding my world as an artist. But, like, one of my best friends moved to Berlin a couple years ago, like, in Germany. And they're just fucking around in Berlin, just, like, living so large, like making out with people all the time, making weird art, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's an option. Like,
sure, yeah, it is.
I there's benefits to all of it. There's benefits to staying in Chicago and like honing your craft in the community that you're part of. But what about the whole world? I don't know. I don't know. What are you gonna do?
Hi. Yeah, I think about your friend in Berlin and I wonder, like, yes, that is the life you see of them doing all that sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, like, what are the downsides? Like, do they miss their family? Do they miss their community? These other pieces? And it's like, I feel like life is never that, like, it's cheesy shit, right? Like, the grass is always greener on the other side versus the grass is green where you water it kind of stuff, where it's just like, no matter what you choose in this life, there's going to be pros and cons, and it's just a choice of which pro and con do you want, because there's so many pros to staying here, a ton of pros to going there, but there are cons in both ways.
Yeah, you're right.
I've heard the talk about, like, monogamous versus non-monogamous relationships in the same way, where it's like there's a ton of beauty to monogamy and there's also a ton of shit that you have to deal with. And on the flip side, non-monogamy, the same thing, you know, like jealousy, other pieces, but you also get the joy of, you know, abundance and whatnot. It's like you kind of got to pick and choose what pros and cons resonate with you, knowing that there is never going to be a perfect option.
Yeah.
And life is just a crapshoot beyond that, like, right? Like, some advice that my mom received from this older lady when she was, like, at the end of her life was just kind of like, it's a crapshoot. You don't know. And you'll never know if you made the right decision. You just keep kind of living.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know, right? but that's it, right? And I feel like I connect so much with artists, especially from, like, the Grateful Dead 70s time, like, listening to them talk about this. They're all these, like, psychedelic hippies just kind of saying, you just live your life for today. You know what I mean? And, like, kind of, how do you ride that living for today, working for goals, but staying present, and, like, all these different things? It's such a dance, I feel like.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, is what I'm saying. I am becoming a psychologist. I have that in my, like, you know, whatever 3.5 year plan. Beyond that, I'd love to be a great podcaster so I could have some sort of dynamic freedom and have my own private practice so I can, you know, maybe see clients Wednesday, Thursday, you know, Tuesday, and travel the rest of the time.
Yeah,
and go snowboarding and hiking and surfing and all of the life that I want to live too. So I am trying to get out of the system as well. Like, I want freedom.
Yes.
To create and to have the life. And, you know, I'm a writer. Like, I want to write books. I want to do that sort of stuff. I don't want to be locked into a system, but you can't escape capitalism completely. And if you do, then you live on a farm where you're with another structure where you need to make your subsistence to live. And then it's just another thing you get locked into. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, we got to pick and choose what things we want in this life.
You're talking to me like a therapist, and I appreciate it because I don't have one.
Oh, and I am just talking to myself like a therapist. This is what I need to hear constantly.
It's definitely what I need to hear. But it's so funny. My instinct is to just be like, my true instinct is to be like, you're wrong. We don't have to pick and choose. Like, I'm going to be an artist, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that is my instinct. And let's just circle back to that brings me back to being a bad employee, because I'm just truly, like, I'm so stubborn about, like, what I believe in. Stubborn to a fault sometimes, I think, because I do believe you're right. You know, you're talking to me and I'm like, you're totally right. Yeah. But I don't want to believe you, you know?
Sure. I think that's part of what makes you an artist.
Yeah,
is this connection to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I know myself very well.
Yes.
And that's something, like, I value a lot. Like, I know what I want for the most part.
Yeah, having just asked, like, what do I do with my life? We're going to ignore that part of the conversation, but I know what I want.
I'm just going to say, like, I know what I want, but, like, not right now.
Sure. And that makes a ton of sense, because, like, all we can ever really project out to is now, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea where I will be in a month. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of got a little bit of a frame of, like, life's kind of settled in this way, but, like, thinking about a year from now, like, I have no idea. Even in the last year, I've changed so much. And so, like, we can only really project out to, like, this small little narrow point. So I think, you have a great connection to yourself. And what I think is part of, like, it's trying different things on. Like, maybe you go to the trail, right? And it feels good for 3 months. And you're like, I've got what I need. I have a good enough connection to myself that I know that. And I'm going to leave now and try something else. Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. I think when I say I know what I want, but not right now, like, I used to know exactly what I wanted, which was to be a touring musician. Like, I had no doubt in my fucking mind. Like, since I was 15, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I was always working towards. And then ever since March 2020, I'm like, oh, what if I want to do something else? And now I'm like, oh, shit. But
I love that.
Go ahead.
I love that you're giving yourself that space. That flexibility, right? To feel things on, try things out, and to, continue to check in with what resonates with you.
Yeah.
I want to, like, push you a little bit on some reframes. Like, why are you a bad employee? And you talk about being stubborn, but maybe these things could also be described as you being extremely passionate.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think because a lot of who I am doesn't fit in the, like, capitalist machine, so I've been, like, trained to be like, oh, I'm a bad employee and I'm really stubborn, instead of, like, passionate and true to myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that is something worth, like, settling for, like, a moment just to, like, feel that. Like, who says you're... Because bad is a strong word. And language is very important, and how you see yourself and your concept of self is shaped by your language of how you describe yourself. And so to say, oh, I'm a bad employee, also while mentioning that you're a manager, so I doubt you're that bad of an employee. Maybe you just don't fit into these certain roles because your skills are better suited in others, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Nexus J is somebody who has, like, really, like, hammered this on me about my language. She's actually
is that where I'm getting that from? She is very into language, yes.
Yeah, we have, like, a really, like, beautiful friendship, and she is, like, the first person to call me out on, like, self-talk things.
Yeah.
Like, especially, I grew up on the East Coast, like, in a Jewish East Coast family, and, like, the way we all communicate is, like, self-deprecating humor, which is, like, yeah, which, it's so funny you have that reaction, because for me, I'm like, yes, that's my blood, like, I love it. So, like, I came to Chicago with that. Yeah, there's a very specific moment where Nexus J and our friend Richie and I were in a car, like, having a good night, like, off some party and shit. And I made a comment. I don't even remember what the comment was, but it was, like, a joke about myself.
Yeah.
And both of them were like, that's not funny. Like, you shouldn't talk about yourself like that. And I was like, oh, but I'm just making a joke. And they're like, yeah, but it's not funny. Like, if you keep talking about yourself like that, like, you believe that about yourself.
Yes.
And in that moment, I was really stubborn, and I was like, no, it was just a joke. Like, I'm just being funny.
Yeah.
But it has stuck with me for years. That was probably 4 years ago, and I think about it all the time. Yeah, that was huge. It really makes you think, you know.
Yeah.
Before. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I want to hear more. Like, how has that 4 years is a long time to sit with that piece there and to reflect further and change how you communicate to yourself. Could you say more on, you know, like, what has that internal dialogue shift been like in the last 4 years?
I think it's definitely shifted a lot with help from my friends, which is like an amazing thing to be able to say. And one of the reasons I feel so committed to Chicago is I do feel like a strong bond with chosen family here.
Yes.
Like, the people who have really had a huge impact in the way I move through life are the people here in Chicago. Yeah. So, for instance, one of my other friends gave me a tip from their therapist, which was to write a journal entry like you're talking about someone you have a crush on, but but you're talking about yourself. So you literally write, like, I have such a huge crush on Jordanna, and then talk about all the things you love about them. Yeah. And so it's, like, little things like that honestly my friends have encouraged me to do. So, like, I remember doing that exercise. That was probably a year ago. And it was, like, really hard for me to do at first. I was like, no.
Exactly.
I'm not doing that.
Exactly. Like, I don't need this shit. What is this?
Yeah. But then I did it. And it's like, oh my God, like, crying. Just being like, wow, I am a really special person who, like, deserves to be loved, you know? Yes. And I think I've surrounded myself with people. Actually, I would say the biggest change is, like, I've cut out some people in my life who I think encouraged that self-deprecating, like, hate on yourself behavior. And I've, like, just surrounded myself with people who are, like, really encouraging.
Yeah. And that seems like it would be really hard knowing that your family has a dynamic where that self-deprecating humor is really present, and to want to also cut those energies out of your life. Yeah, where are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, that is correct. Both my sister and I are, like, heavily therapized and working on ourselves. Yeah, and I would definitely say our family has had a big impact on that. That's what I'll say on that but my sister and I are very close and, like, are very aware of how fucked up we are, for sure. Oh, wait, but I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna be quiet until you realize what you just did.
Yeah, no, we're both working on, like, loving ourselves more, for sure.
Yes, there we go. I know, because I'm hearing this journey of self-love, right? maybe coming from the space of growing up in a family where it was self-deprecating, and that's how you found community, through that language of kind of hating on yourself and having this journey, part of it being going out to the Appalachian Trail, having that alone time, asking yourself, can I even do this? And having that moment of pushing yourself into that with bravery and curiosity about yourself, and learning to love yourself through that, which part of that has also been creating a community around you of support, of people that see you in the best way possible, which makes you come into the best light possible.
Yeah, okay, all right. I'm going to tell you the big takeaway that I just realized in the last week about the trail's impact on me, which is I went out there being like, who am I when I'm not a performer, yada, yada, yada. When I came back to Chicago, I was very excited to perform again because, like, clubs were opening up again. I was very excited. Yeah. I did one performance at Cafe Mustache, and I had, like, a panic attack after. And I had a panic attack, and then I participated in some, like, very self-destructive behavior. And haven't performed since, and realized that maybe performing isn't exactly what I want. And I just realized in the last week, by going through some videos from Trail, where, like, every video on Trail, I keep saying, like, I'm so proud of myself. Like, I can't believe I did this. I'm so proud of myself. And I really, really think for the last, like, 10 years of my life, I've been performing and making music to, like, get that validation from other people that, like, I'm doing well. You know, people are like, I'm so proud of you, you're doing amazing. But, like, I never really felt it myself that I was, like, proud until I went out on Trail, and I couldn't believe what I was doing. I was so proud of myself. Like it's the greatest thing I've done in my life. And, like, I come back, I perform, I'm like, oh, I don't really care if these people are proud of me. Like, I don't really feel proud of what I just did. Like, because I've found, like, a whole new way to, like, value myself and find my worth through something other than performing. So I would say that's, like, my big takeaway from the trail.
That's
it
huge.
Is huge. It is. And now it's like, okay, so where do I go from here? I don't know. Sure. But I am, like, so proud and, like, happy with what I've done in the last year.
You should be.
Deal. Yeah.
Yes, and that's a great place to feel that connection to yourself and to be so proud.
Yeah, of something, like, not related to my work or my art. Like, it's truly just like me. Yeah.
Yes, because it's something that you did for yourself, not necessarily for the external validation or the praise of other people. It's something that you went off and did on your own.
Yes, exactly.
For yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think when you think about what it means to be touring and to be an artist and all these other things, it's like, at what point would you ever reach the I've done enough?
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
There's not like a I did enough.
Exactly, right? I mean, and now I'm Taylor Swift's documentary. Oh, I love watching artist documentaries. It's just so interesting to see them. Yeah, like in Miss Americana, she talks a lot about that. Like, at what point would she have enough fans that she felt like she did enough? And I think that's an important question, right? It's like, you're here at this point, you have a fan base. Is this enough? At what point do you need this much external validation for someone to look at you and be like, you have made it, rather than recognizing that that's never going to happen. It's only going to be ever what we view as enough, right? And so for you in that moment, it was doing the trail, and that like gave you that feeling. And so checking in with yourself of like, what is going to make me feel like I've done enough?
Right. Oh, that's a good question.
I have the same question with the podcast, right? Like, as the podcast continues to grow and get a deeper following, I'm like, when will I feel like I have made it as a podcaster? And where do I draw that arbitrary line of like what it is? And I don't know. I try to tell myself, if I have one listener per episode, that's enough. It's enough. I've changed a life. Someone's listened and tuned in and heard thoughts and ideas, and it's changed other people. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at your podcast page on Spotify this morning, and like, you do this every week.
I do this every week, yeah.
That, you should, I know I hate when people are like, you should be proud, but like, you should be proud, because that's hard. Like, the commitment to do it every week. Like, a lot of people start podcasts and just give up.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing an amazing job. And I was listening to a couple different episodes, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, really well done.
Thank you. That's really, I need to hear that, because I hit these spaces where I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? Like, is this good? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? And like, I constantly battle that same anxiety all the time, where I'm like, was that conversation even worthy of sharing?
Oh,
and then
my God.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing that you having a panic attack on stage, right?
Yeah.
It's that same thing where we're just constantly like, is this enough? Is this good enough? And like, it's the struggle, I think, of being an artist, of putting something out there, which involves a level of external validation, but trying to pull that validation back inward. And ooh, what a mess that is. Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both just like, we're fucked. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, something just popped into my head that I'm curious if you saw. Also, is there a direction we need to go with this?
Nope, we're thriving. This is a great episode. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you watch Bo Burnham's Inside?
Yes, and this is me. Yes. That moment when he's staring at the computer with the knife and watching himself, and you're just like, is he gonna kill himself now? Like, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so when I got home from Trail, which I'm trying to not keep talking about Trail, but it is very relevant.
Like post-Trail, before Trail. You've got your own little...
Yes,
which is fair. Yeah.
It's like...
Yes.
It's very real.
Yes.
Yeah, but when I came back, I actually was just coming back on a break. I said I was going to go back, and then...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I came back, and I was like, oh no, I love my people, and I need to be here. But I was staying with my friend, and that Inside had just come out like a few weeks earlier or something. She was like, you need to watch this. Yes. And we watched it, and it fucked me up in a really good way. I was like, this is... Like, I felt so seen.
Yep.
And I don't even know why I felt inclined to bring it up. I guess just because I feel like, as creators, and like maybe creators with perhaps mental health issues, I don't know.
I will say that is me. Hi.
I know it's me. Like, that special was so powerful, I feel like.
Yes. And I think this is a part of the creativeness, and it has to be to some degree, right? We're constantly trying to be better, and being better is within our own thoughts, because you use our thoughts to create things. So we're constantly thinking about our thoughts, like, is this a good enough one? Is this a good enough one? And that process can create mental illness, you know what I mean? And think about the years of artists that we see struggle with mental illness, right? So many alcoholics, suicide, all these different things, because that is our internal headspace.
Yeah, it is. Like, constantly, like, self-critical, judging what's good.
Yes.
I mean... Like, I record a lot of my vocals at home, and I'll do, like, 70 takes on, like, one line. Just being like, nope, not good enough. Do it again. And then, like, first of all, you got it on the first one. Like, you gotta just leave it.
For sure.
But it's like, what an insane thing. I think I tweeted once, like, I just spent an hour editing my own voice. Actually, you probably do that with the podcast, right? What a nightmare.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. What a fucking nightmare. Can we just talk about that for a second? Because I go into the space where I look and I'm like, oh, you stuttered. You're dumb. You know what I mean? Or, oh, you said this and that was not coherent. Or so many different things that I can just, like, talk about anxiety brain. It's literally just a conversation in my thoughts. So I can just rip it apart.
Yeah.
It's scary. So much so that even, like, what I usually do is record this conversation, go back and edit another one. So I'll re-record this in maybe a couple of weeks. And in between that time, from what we do right now and in between there, I have created an internal sense of what this conversation is like, whether it was good and whether I liked it or not. And I start to get to this point where I'm like, it probably sucked, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't do that one well. And especially if I'm talking about difficult topics like race or like disability and other things, then I get in the space where I'm like, oh my God, you failed. And then I go back and it's really not that bad. But like, my brain has just constructed a whole different narrative.
Of course. Yeah, like worst case scenario. Yes. It's so natural to just be like, this is the worst case scenario. It happened.
Which is why I do psychedelics and come back to the Grateful Dead, who are just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, let go a little bit.
I'm currently, I'm trying to decide. I keep flip-flopping between, like, maybe sobriety is where it's at versus, like, no, we should do drugs and drink all the time. What, and I don't know that there's an answer.
I think there is, but yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
Balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the rational answer, not that you gotta pick one or the other.
Well, let's talk about this, okay? So, as we drink our morning coffee, drug. I've been drugged all day, right? Just already that. Like I think it's Michael Pollan, who, I don't know what doctorate he has, but he studies various things and did studies on different drugs, including caffeine, and tried to cut out caffeine for 3 months just to see what his brain state was like to go back. And he said it was the worst thing that he's ever done, like psychologically, and the amount of urges that he had to have coffee, and it was so strong. And I think people forget, like, coffee is a psychotropic substance that changes how we think. And forget your conversation, should we do drugs every day? It's like, you're already doing it, and I do it every single day, drinking the capitalistic juice of America. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then let's take that a step further. Like, I take a antidepressant for my anxiety. There was another drug that I literally take every day that changes my brain space. So it's like, okay, so now if you throw in weed on top of that, or alcohol, or psychedelics and all this stuff, it's like, where do you draw the line of, like, what is an okay drug to do every day and what is not an okay drug to do every day? And I think it's all about the balance of it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I can't let go of coffee, so I don't even know. I'm not even really that balanced. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do coffee every day.
Yeah, I couldn't not. My friend just posted that, 2021 reflection that he quit alcohol and coffee. And I literally said, like, I'm hung up on the coffee part. Like, I can't, like, I could see where I could stop drinking. Like, I don't need alcohol that much, but, like, coffee, like, I actually can't imagine. So I guess.
And when I stop having coffee, I get, like, flu-like symptoms. Like, I full on have an addiction. Like, I don't not have coffee, and I recognize that, and it's like, okay, is that bad or good? And then thinking about the antidepressant thing really kind of changes it for me, because it's like, I take that every day. Is that bad or good? And you just, it's hard because there's these social scripts that are going to tell you that coffee every day is great, and I think alcohol every day is bad because it can, destroy your body and other things, and destroy your ability to function in your day-to-day. And I think a lot of psychology comes back to this point where it's about your ability to function. So, like, a true diagnosis of, an addiction would be that it is affecting your ability to function in multiple areas of life. Like, is it affecting your ability to do your job, your family, your other things? And I think as long as you're keeping those things, is not something to be concerned about. But once it starts to cross that line where you're not able to show up in relationships, your job, your other pieces, then we're starting to hit a point at which it's going down a different path.
Yeah.
So that's why I say balance. Like, it's great to go play. You want to go have a psychedelic day? Great. Go have that. You want to get high and go play, but still do your work and do other things, and learning how to flow with that.
Yeah. See, that's such a healthy mindset. My brain is so inclined to just be like, pick one and do it all the time. Like, and so you're either like a drug person or a sober person. But you got, I like that. I'm gonna take a tip from you. Balance.
Yeah.
I like
Sure. A couple things I'm thinking about as you're speaking is there's this really good book from this other doctorate person called Drug Use for Grown-Ups. Really fascinating. Had set out to study addiction in his community, but then really understood that, we got to take our lens a little bit further. And like he's openly talks about how he does heroin, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because he does it in different doses and continues to live his life like a healthy person. And so
I've heard of this guy. Wait, what's his name? Do you know his name?
I think it's Carl Hart.
Wait, that name sounds very Carl Hart. I've heard about this guy.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And I think it's just like let's take a step back, expand our perspectives of what it means to even use drugs or whatever some people consider medicine, and different stuff. And I think there's a lot of narratives about things like even like heroin of like, oh my God, could you use that recreationally and be healthy? And a lot of people be like, obviously not. Oh my God, right? But I think that is a social narrative that we have been fed, that is bad drug versus how do you have a relationship with these things that are healthy, flexible, balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complicated because it is dangerous. And then you get things like cocaine, right? Then you're talking about things that do have a very literal physiological addiction piece that you have to be very careful about. And I think, like with anything, right? It's about balance and being present with yourself and constantly kind of asking these questions of like, do I have a healthy relationship with this? And just like anything, right? Like, do I have a healthy relationship with this partner? Do I have a healthy relationship with my career and my music? Like it takes constant reflection to make sure that you're balanced in a way that aligns with your values and only you know what you want with your life.
Maybe.
You have the ability to create it, right? And to try different things on and try different levels of different experiences of life and see what suits you because it is a crapshoot. And we're just going to keep trying.
Oh, I love that.
I'm preaching now.
No, I really love it. I'm listening to you. I'm like, wow, you're really smart and well-read.
Oh, thank you.
Love it.
Oh, my God. It's so kind. I'm also thinking for you, have you read Walden?
No.
By Thoreau?
No, I haven't read much at all. Please tell me to read. Yeah.
Do you know anything about it?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Thoreau, like what? Like he's I don't even know. Ignore me, but I'm going to tell you the beauty of the story.
Please.
And Walden, and I only recently picked it up myself because it's something I've been feeling as well too. Where basically he just says, you know what? I'm going to go live in the woods for a good chunk of time and reassess my life and see what I want to do and see what living really is. And so then he writes this story all about what it was like to just live alone in the middle of the woods and slow down and take a step away from society. And like, exactly. As you're speaking about all this, I'm just like, yeah. And so I read that in college and have been reconnecting to that idea of just like, taking a step back from external validation and living with nature and being connected to that. And as you're talking about the trail and this question of like, who am I identity, I'm just like, ooh, this could be good for you to read.
Oh, I should definitely. Literally, my goal for this year is to read one book. Like, I'm a bad reader.
Really?
No, I'm not no, there's the language. I don't read a lot.
You haven't found a book that has spoken to you. There you go. Right?
There you go. So I should try this, especially like a classic.
Or if you want, like, look up a YouTube video that explains it in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, that is also, like, if you're not gonna, it is a book, and, like, one of the chapters is all on growing beans, you know what I mean? And that is not, like, the epitome of life. And, yeah, exactly. So, like, even if you watch the, you know, condensed version to get like these ideas and thoughts of these different writers and pieces, like I love that because I think we're all kind of in that same space as artists and having different ways to connect to it, whether it be the music or the words of other people. It kind of brings this intimacy where you never really feel alone to some degree because these same questions that what you're going through, years of humans have gone through these same questions without answers.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think I'm so determined to like find the answer when I know.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what is it? Like what do I do? How do I achieve ultimate happiness? And especially with some of these answers having really big consequences. Like do I want to even have kids, knowing how the scale of the universe? Yeah, I know you're like no. But like knowing this, here's my thing, right? I'm like no, but also like I watched this documentary on black holes and just looking, looking
For
at
sure.
this scale of the universe and the enormity of it. And the more that I travel and meet all these different humans that are just living completely independent lives, it can be so isolating. And to come back and be able to create a family of meaning sounds very nice in theory, but it's like, do I want to do that for the rest of my life? I don't know. Yeah, and that has a big consequence. Yeah. You can't just decide that and back out if it doesn't feel right.
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, but if you pick that is a commit. Like, that's forever.
Oh, sure.
That is for your forever. For the rest of your life.
Yeah. And I want to know the answer. Is that the right thing to do or not?
In my head, I'm like, it's not. Don't do that.
For sure. Yeah, exactly.
Like, do not do that. But
I know.
I mean, but for some people, you know, I mean.
Oh, yeah. It's not anytime soon for me, but, like, I feel that in that same energy where, like, I want to know the answer. Like, will this make me happy? I want to know now.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. And I think I'm telling this to myself that we don't know. And when it feels like the right thing to do, it will. And until then, I'm just living that today is a sunny day out in this cold winter tundra of Chicago. And I'm having a great conversation with another fellow artist who asks the same questions that I do. And I feel seen and validated. And this is as good as it's going to get, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a really, I think you got to stay present, which easier said than done. What a way to start the day. I'm truly sitting here, like, listening to you. I'm like, wow, she's so smart. And I'm just like, also, I don't know your pronouns. I'm so sorry.
No, it is. She, her.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was just thinking, like, wow, what a great way to start the day. This is, like, a really great way to start the day.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I feel inspired. I'm like, what am I going to go do now? Like, I want to hike a mountain. I want to get on the Appalachian Trail. I'm jealous.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so sorry, I'm kind of at a loss for words in this
No,
moment.
that's good. That's a good space to be in, to feel like we've had so much that we've chewed on that has inspired us to want to think and reflect. Like, that's a sign of a great conversation, right? And, like, when I go back to edit this and when you go back to listen to this, we'll do the same thing where we sit back and you're like, damn, like, I said some good things that I need to hear to myself. And that's constantly what I get from the podcast, where it's just, like, self-advice that I need to hear. And I go back and get it for myself, and it feels like such a fucking slap to the face, you know what I mean? When I hear myself say wisdom that I, like, need to hear, and I'm like, damn. So it's a good place. We've made a beautiful conversation, I promise.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad.
Is there anything that you feel like on your heart that you wanted to say? I always like to leave that space open, that you're like, damn, this is what I really wanted to say to people that I didn't really get a shot at.
You know, if I was going to say anything, it's like, just stay true to yourself. And, like, I think if you're gonna have a goal, like, have the goal to always be, like, as authentically you as possible. Yes. And, like, don't try to be, like, popular on Instagram, because I don't think that's the most authentic way to live. And I do think it's easy to, like, want that right now.
Yeah, and having the flexibility to figure out what that means in this long journey of life.
Yeah, and I think that when I listen back, I will be like, yeah, I should do that.
Exactly. I need to hear that. We're constantly speaking to ourselves. One of the things I do ask everybody on this podcast is, what is one thing that you wish other people knew was more normal?
Okay, first of all, that's a great question.
Thank you. Some people hate it, and I totally get why they hate it. They don't actually hate it, but, like, I love Nexus J when she was on here. It was just kind of like, you know what? I want to push back on what it means to be normal. And I was like, fuck yeah, push back. I am for it. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. But I think I, like, love when I, like, realize something, quote, weird I do is, like, other people do it too, you know?
Exactly. And I think we all need to hear that.
Like, I'm tempted to say something that I wonder if is, like, very generic.
Try me.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, I've spent so much of my life worrying, well, A, just worrying, and B, worrying that I'm alone, even though I have, like, great community around me and, like, people who love me. And I think just... that whole thing of, like, worrying that you're alone in this world is, like, maybe pretty normal.
Yeah.
You're probably very loved, even if just by one person, or your dog, or a cat, or the barista that you see once a week that you tip or something, you know? Like, totally normal to fall down that hole. And I think, like, it's also easy to think, like, oh, I am so alone and, like, broken, but, like, you're not, and, like, you worrying about that is pretty normal, I think. Unfortunately, it's pretty normal for the human.
Yes. There is this incredible aloneness that we will always feel, and I think part of that is the reality that we are alone in our thoughts. Do you know what I mean? Like, we we're social creatures. We have this slew of ideas just running across our head all day. And we have these moments where we find another human and we say, hey, these are the things going up here. Like, do you hear and see what I have up here? And to some degree, our communication and language allows us to have that. But the reality is, you are alone up there. Like, you are up in the space of the galaxy with no end in sight, right? And you are alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I'm going to walk away from this conversation and, like, yeah, I'm alone in my head.
Yes.
There's only one person up there most of the time.
No one else can get up there.
Yeah, and I think, like, that's so scary, and, like, we're all scared. I think, you know? And I think it's normal.
Yes, and that's the beauty of the human existence, is when you meet that barista at the coffee shop and you wonder, do they care about this as much as I do? And, you know, like, you can't really know, but they are just another human up there, desperately alone in their own galaxy of narratives and stuff, and that peace gives you a level of comfortability in connecting with other people in this lonely existence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some sort of like, like, I don't even know what the words are for it, but like this pessimistic reality that brings you peace in it.
Yeah. Wow, this is gonna fuck me up just because I'm gonna leave my house now, and every person I see, I'm gonna be like, oh, they're alone in their head. Like, we're all alone in our heads.
I think that's some of the biggest beauty of what I'm experiencing as someone becoming a psychologist.
Yeah.
And hearing this, and right, and like getting the inside knowledge of having therapy with other people and hearing their heads and the thoughts that go through theirs and feeling that. I think that's why I like this question of what's normal, is like, we all go through this, and so how can we lean out to connect with other people knowing that we're all in the same place of confusion, hurt, lostness, and trying to find meaning in this world, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think, like, that's why a lot of people make art. Like, that's where, why people are artists, is to be like, oh my god, this is what's in my head. Is this also in your head, or does this make sense to you? Like, it's a lot of it, at least for me, I think, comes from this feeling of, like, feeling so alone and just, like, fucking praying to God that somebody relates. And so then putting it in the music or the paper.
Exactly. And I was thinking about that same concept of art and what you make, and kind of I was imagining myself as if I was Will Smith on the I Am Legend, just like saying out to the void, like, is anybody else out there? Like, I feel these thoughts, I have this, like, is anybody else out there feeling this? And, like, that's kind of how I feel like art is, where you're just, like, looking into the void of humans in existence. Like, I'm feeling this, are you feeling this? Like,
yeah.
We can only have that if we communicate it, whether it be through a conversation like this, a song, you know, a piece of art. But in that, yes, I think we find such community because we are all just lost and confused and wanting love and a safe place to lay our head at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, and another thing I'll say is I think a lot of the times I'll have this dream of, like, oh, one day I'll have, like, a farm on a mountain in the middle of nowhere.
Sure.
But I know that, like, I couldn't live without people, like, a community.
Of course.
For this very reason. Like, I'm already alone in my head. Like, how am I gonna go be physically alone? Like,
we're not meant to be alone.
Yeah.
At all. Not at all. To be very clear. We are social creatures. Whether that relationship, if you were on a farm, was with, you know, a dog or your cattle or whatever it is that you've created these relationships with, and then the community, we are not meant to live alone. That is not where we thrive. And it's okay to recognize that. There's a lot of Western push that says you need to figure out who you are as an individual. You need to figure out this. You need to figure out, look, that is a very male, patriarchal idea of what it means to be a human. And a lot of feminist theory kind of expands that to saying, no, we are who we are through our relationships with other people. And that is how we find our concept of self.
I just got chills.
Ooh, yeah. Relational theory, I find it fascinating. And someone used this really great metaphor the other day that I've been clinging on to. We're all kind of like human disco balls. You got all these mirrors, right? And so these people come into your lives and you reflect back to them what you see in them, and you see yourself through how they see you, and it depends on who's around you in that time.
I really like that.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so important to be conscious of who's in your community, because it portrays who you are back to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when it comes back to that, like the way I grew up and the self-deprecation and then moving here and surrounding myself with the people.
And I'm sure you see a different concept of self
from
there to here.
Like, I really love this conversation about, like, you need people, we're not meant to be alone, is, like, we didn't touch on relationship stuff. I found those topics so interesting, especially with Jayla, and, like, you're really into relationship anarchy and all these things. And I just find that so interesting. I definitely think I'm going to use the word struggle. Like, I struggle a lot with, like, what maybe I'm actually looking for in romantic relationships. And I just think that you have, like, an interesting and, like, informed perspective. And I do wish we got to talk about that, but I don't know.
And we can. Yeah, what do you, and I love talking about these things. What are you seeking? What questions do you have? Where are you at? Yeah.
Well, I'm inclined to be like, I definitely couldn't do a poly thing because I'm a jealous person. Like, I get jealous easily. But I also don't think any of my monogamous relationships have been rather healthy, maybe.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm also very hesitant around, like, true relationships in general. And I don't even know what that's about.
Sure. Okay, I've got a couple of things coming to mind. I feel like I'm like a witch. I'm over here, like, brewing. I'm like, what do I want to bring up?
That's awesome.
First thing, I know nothing. Like, want to be very clear. I have no answers, no nothing. My dissertation is all on these sort of ideas. Relationship anarchy. What can bring the most fulfillment out of relationships within our current context? Like, if we strip away patriarchal thinking, ownership, all of that, like, what will bring us happiness and what is feasible? That is what my question is. And I will let you know in a couple of years if I've gotten any closer, and I might come out still being like, I don't know anything, but I'm certain I don't know anything, you know what I mean? Beyond that, I'm also thinking about the fact, again with the 70s, like really thinking about the fact that they consider their generation being the generation that grew up with the presence of the bomb, you know, the nuclear warfare, like what that did to their psyche of understanding how they live their life a little bit more freer, knowing that at any second you could really just blow up and life be gone. And I've been thinking about us, like our generation, right? We have grown up with the internet, and like, what has that done to our concept of self? I think it is that big enough to be one of those like big definers where it's going to shake us up to a degree where we look at relationships and we're like, what do we want, knowing that we have access to an abundance of people?
Yeah.
And how do you choose to settle down on one, knowing there's so much out there?
Yes.
And that alone is going to just like shake our whole concept of self. Because before, imagine you're in this small town, right? Like you've got your couple of people to choose from, you know, like that's just is what it is. You know, you settle down with this person because that's all you got. Like we are in a whole different world today of choices and like, how do you make all of that? And ooh, I know it is crazy.
And I'm supposed to, most popularly, I'm supposed to assume that my soulmate is also on this app and within like a 10-mile radius of me or something. Like, I'm not a huge fan of it.
Well, right. Yeah. Which I think makes sense.
Yeah. But you're out here, with multiple partners? Where are you finding them and how's that working?
Here's where I get to be honest about life. Oh, man. So I currently have a partner, and as of maybe like last night would consider them a partner. Like this is an interesting, most recent development where there's this man in my life. Like first off, wasn't even sure I was going to date men ever again. Be very clear. Thought that wasn't going to happen. And we had started a relationship in early February, and at the time I had another partner and kind of talked about it, but like he was really not open to the non-monogamous lifestyle, and so we kind of went our separate ways, but then saw each other again in the community and kind of like longed for each other, and so we reconnected in the last like month and a half. And just last night, we had this like really powerful conversation where I was just kind of talking about exactly what we're talking about, where it's like, how do you live a life of authenticity when like monogamy or non-monogamy has such rigid, you know, expectations of what you're supposed to do. And I don't like that. And I'm sure you don't like that. It's another thing, kind of like this artist energy where you're like, I don't want to have to conform. Fuck that shit. I don't want to have to do that. I want to be able to be free and to create. And that's kind of what we centered on. We're like, he really wants to invest in a relationship that is very meaningful and to have that. And I'm all about that. I would love that too. And I just want to have the ability to create whatever that is. I want to, if I want to have kids one day, be able to say, I don't want to do any of the child rearing. Maybe I want you to stay at home. There is no expectation because I am a woman that there is this level of care that I'm going to want to do. I want to be able to every day, you know, choose and check in with that person and say, this is feeling good or this isn't feeling good. And so if spending, you know, all of my time with this person, quote unquote, kind of monogamously for this time in my life feels good, I'm here for it. If at a point it starts to feel like it's no longer suiting me and I want to go out and date other people, I want to be able to have that conversation with that person and say, hey, I feel this itch and this is what I want to do, and try it on again, and I'm going to communicate with you and be present and make sure that I'm conscious of how this is going to affect you as well. And that's all I want in life. And that is really what I was trying to say. I just want that space to check in constantly to make sure that we're both achieving all of the dreams that we want in life and being caring of one another. And I was like crying, having this conversation with, you know, him, and feeling like that level of like deeply looking into each other's eyes and being like, yes, I trust you to be soft and gentle with my heart and to honor everything that I dream of and honor everything that you dream of. And because we get one shot at this, so let's fucking live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. I have no idea if that means that I will become sexually fidelity, whatever, with that person. You know what I mean? Or if that means I have no idea. I am just here right now and it feels good, and I'm going to continue to ask myself and check in with this person that I see valuable qualities in, that I want to build a life with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, how'd you two meet?
Hinge.
God damn it.
but the reason why we got back together was because we're both climbers, and so I saw him in the community, you know, like we had 2 or 3 meetings up with one another after that point, and I was like, oh, I'm still kind of like feeling an energy here, and then just kind of reached back out. But yeah, Hinge.
God damn it.
I know, but it's the communities. Say, so you want to go rock climbing with me? Let's get you into the rock climbing community. Build your own friends there. It is such a community, you know what I mean? And you meet new people. You gotta, what the fuck? I don't know anything. I don't know how to find people either.
You do know a lot of theory, though. I find that interesting.
I always come back to my, like, philosopher mind. I minored in philosophy in college, and, like, the biggest thing I know is that I don't know anything. You know what I mean? I am trying on different hats, and this has worked for me, and it feels authentic to me, and I do not know what will feel authentic to you, but I'm here to support you in that journey of finding that out, because it's hard, you know? Yeah.
And I think, as, like, an artist, I was on this thing for a minute where I was like, well, I'm not going to date another artist because that's too insane. Like, that is too much ego and, like, too much just a lot of drama. But then I was, like, going on dates with people who weren't artists, and I was like, you're so boring. I have nothing to talk about with you. Like, what do you do with your time? And they're like,
I don't know.
They go to the movies, which is great. But I'm like, you ever thought of making one? Like, don't do something?
Yeah, it's a different headspace.
Yeah, and so now I'm like, okay, maybe I should date an artist. But then I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I trying to define it? I don't know. I think I have, like, a lot of, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Maybe there's not, like, a rule book. There's probably not, and I'm supposed to just,
Well, the same thing with identity, right? Like, now this is a question I've been asking myself, like, am I a lesbian? Am I queer? Like, am I this? Now I'm building this relationship with a man, which, like, okay, so technically definitely not a lesbian. It's just, like, same sort of thing where it's, like, why am I trying to force myself into this box? And the same sort of thing you do, like, artist or not. It's like, no. Let's just, like, take a step back. Let's just breathe. We like people. We like people. And every single person's going to be different and pull out different things. Disco ball, right? Like,
yes. Yes.
Yep. And you might not want an artist if your whole life was built with artist friends and you feel like you get enough of that community back that, like, yeah, it'd be nice to date someone in accounting who just, like, lives their life, you know what I mean, and comes home with no big questions constantly.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, exactly. Yeah, that's why I was like, I should just date, like, a business person.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
it sounds simple, right?
Yeah.
Like,
right,
just, like...
nobody's simple, and then that's where it comes down to. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I similarly, like, I've always identified as queer, and I haven't dated a cis man in years.
Yes.
But when I came back from trail, interestingly enough, I had a huge crush on a cis guy.
Tell me about this. This is huge, right? Like, to be like, I'm queer, I don't know, no cis het men, or I don't know if he was het, but like...
Yeah, he is.
Yes, exactly.
He's like a cis het man. I know, and I had, like, a huge crush, like, couldn't stop thinking about him, and I knew he was, like, dating other people, but he was, like, dating a few people, and then so I, like, approached him, and he was like, oh, I, like, just agreed to be serious with this one girl. I was like, all right, whatever. But it was just, like, a very strange, like, and now I'm very much like, oh, shit, okay, I guess I will date anyone. Because I was, like, very, like, lusting after this man. So...
What do you think that was? Have you had time to reflect on, like, what that was that pulled you to him?
I mean, I was attracted to him because he's also a musician, and he's, like, very serious about his craft, and I think he's really smart. And I'm just describing a man I really like.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about it.
But yeah, like, I really am attracted to people who are, like, passionate about their craft.
Yep.
And, like, who take their work seriously. Like, he's very serious about his work, and he's, like, really hot.
Yeah, sure, yes.
And, like, I don't know, just something about, like, someone really committed to their work. I think I really like. I don't know if that's even healthy or a good thing to like in somebody, but...
Okay, language point. Let's slow it down a little bit. Like, it sounds like the passion. You really like passionate people.
Yeah, yes, yeah. And that's why when I was going on dates with these, like, finance people, I'm like, okay, but, like, what are you passionate about?
Exactly. What makes you wake up and want to live this life? Because every day we got to decide what we're living for, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't believe I just described my crush to you.
Does it feel vulnerable?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I know what I'm looking for, like, passionate people who are, like, really care about what they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And probably in so many ways, because that's how you see and live the life that you want to live, is investing, seeing I really just love the poetical nature of artists. And so that passion that, you know, he has for his music, and it's like, you ask, like, oh, is that wrong or whatever, whatnot. It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with that if it's done in balance, right? Like, if this person only lives for that and that one thing alone, like, I'm gonna say that might be hard to have a relationship with those sorts of people, right? But, like, as long as they understand the balance of this wholeness of life and are continually asking these questions and being introspective about it, great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm really attracted to people who are, passionate and, like, committed to, like, an artistic goal.
Yeah, and introspection and to look out and to craft the life that they want to live. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like, unfortunately, I think I do want to be with someone who comes home with, like, big questions. Like, how messy is that going to be? Maybe, like, really messy, but I think that is, like, what would feel good.
Yeah.
And I'm having a moment.
Yeah, that's good. And if it doesn't feel good, then you figure that out as you go, right?
Yeah.
But I'm in that same boat, too. I don't know if I could... And I think it comes back to values. Like, I don't know if I could be with someone who's a business bro who is living for the mass amalgamation of money, and that being their primary goal is money and hedonistic pleasure of, you know, material goods. That lifestyle does not resonate with me, and it resonates with other people. Great. And so, like, for us, we want people who are a little bit on a different path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And who can, like, see through the bullshit. Yeah.
Exactly. And be vulnerable. And for me, a lot of this, like, because when I question about, like, queer identity and stuff, I'm like, I love people, and I love people who are embodied. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it's like, I'm attracted to women, but certainly not all women. You know what I mean? And I'm attracted to non-binary people, but not all of them. And it's like, I'm attracted to people that embody and have these different value systems that mirror me, whether that be of any gender, of any whatever. You know what I mean? And instead of trying to, like, force ourselves into these labels, how can we allow for a little bit more fluidity of our sexual desires, interest in partners, how those dynamics work? Like, I really, like, let's just have fluidity and create and continually check in.
Yeah, I think overall, my identity is, and I want it to be very fluid, like in all aspects, like gender, sexuality, art, like I think all of it's very fluid. Mm-hmm. And perhaps that's the way to be, at least for me.
Yes. Yeah. And because when you think about your life, and I always come back to this, like, who I am now in this conversation with you is different than who I was an hour ago. Yeah. I have connected with someone else who has similar ideas, similar thoughts and questions. Now going into this space, I've connected with another human, and I know I'm not alone in this world, and that will shape me into something in a different way when continuing on. And so it's like, who am I is constantly going to be changing, and so we need to have this fluidity because every single moment is going to change us, literally down to the second, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And the disco ball thing, thinking about how your relationships are going to change that. And it's like, ooh, yeah, who we are is just very complicated, very changing. So let's go with the flow of water and just be.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, but it's significantly easier said than done. Yeah. Because when you ask yourself then, like, who am I? It's like,
yeah,
I don't have a box to force myself in. I am just me.
Okay, the last thing I will say is, so on Trail, maybe your partner has told you about you get a trail name?
Yes, he did tell me this.
Yeah. Wait, what was his trail name?
His was Billy the Kid, because he was young compared to a lot of the people out there.
Oh, cute. I love that.
What was
so
yours?
Everyone gets a name, and, like, usually it's based off, either something like that, like your age, your appearance, or, like, something you did. And I got my name after the first week because I was talking about identity to every single person I met. Every single person. I was like, I don't know, like, because the first week everyone's like, why are you out here? What are you doing? I'm like, well, I don't know who I am. I'm trying to figure this out. And I would constantly be like, talking about all these different things I like to do, but what does that make me? Like, am I an artist? Am I a hiker? Am I a queer person? Am I, like, who am I? And one of my closest friends I made out there named me Paradox.
Ooh.
Because I can be, like, a paradox of things. And she was saying that, like,
fuck yeah.
Your identities can be hypocritical to each other. Yep. Like, they can be all these things, and you can be a paradox. And so it was amazing. For 3 months, people called me Paradox. Like, it's my name. Like, people don't know my real name. They just call you by your trail name. So I, like, always carry that with me, like, Paradox.
Yeah.
Like, you can be, a paradox of things.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. I feel that energy frequently. Like, when I go rock climbing and I'm outdoorsy, but then show up in a 1950s dress with gloves, like, I feel like the biggest paradox. Like, I can be as gritty, like, put me out in the dirt and then be like, no, I'm polished and refined. Like, and like having that duality of, like, even just my appearance. Yeah, it's like, what a paradox.
Yeah, and I think, like, that is, like, my favorite part of being alive is that, like, you really can choose. Like, I really believe that you can wake up and, like, be who you want to be that day, or moment to moment, like you were saying, second to second, and, like, it's fluid, and, like, I might not have one single encompassing identity, but, like, the ability to be a paradox and be ever-changing is, like, such a magical part of life. And I also want to end by saying that, like, I think walking through life, like, believing in magic has always been, like, very special to me. And, like, I just think we should all, like, believe in magic more and use it.
The poetical sentimentalism, I am resonating with you. Yeah. And that is a powerful lesson. And I hope you and everybody holds on to that, the ability to choose every moment who you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So who do you think you're going to be when you leave this? What are you going to choose? Yeah.
I can't tell you because I don't know. You know what I mean? I have value systems of love and compassion and exploration, and like how that's going to show up, I don't know. And I'll probably mess up. That's human experience. I'll probably fail at meeting those goals constantly, right? But like allowing ourselves that ability to do that is what it means to be living authentically, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Ooh, I feel very like full of inspiration and like excitement. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that I could hold this space for both of us to do this. This has been just like, this is yummy to me. I could eat these conversations up all day long.
Me too. I feel very excited. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask, is there any place you want to plug for people who want to find you and your music? Yeah.
I think just the easiest place to find me is Instagram, where we all live.
I know.
Yeah, so it's at Jordanna Chicago, and all my music is available just under Jordanna, like on every streaming platform. So if people want to connect, hit me up.
That's where they can do it. Awesome.
Cool.
I always feel weird ending these conversations.
I know.
Like, that's been great. Thank you.
It was great though. Thank you so much for having me. Like,
of course.
So fun.
Yeah, it's great. I love meeting other people.
If you enjoyed today's episode, then leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a part of the Anarchist community, then follow us on Instagram or nominate a guest for the show by sending in a letter to modernanarchypodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.